because we change ourselves personally and collectively through practices, let me suggest that we start with a practice. So if you're willing and you're able, please stand. And what we'll do is we'll do a brief centering practice. And a centering practice is designed so that we become present. We become present to others. We become present to the environment. We open to possibilities. And we connect with what matters to us. We remember what we care about and what is our purpose for being on this earth walk. And instead of it being like a bumper sticker or a magnet on your refrigerator, it's actually something you can do. You know, where you see the bumper sticker, world peace, but we don't have world peace, so we need to practice world peace. So let's practice getting present. So if you just let your arms come to your side, and we're going to center on these 4 dimensions. And these 4 dimensions are on all living things, from a single-cell protoplasm to a giraffe. And that's length, width, depth, and an organizing principle or purpose. So live inside of your length. Come inside of your length this way. And when I say that, I mean don't think of it as an idea or a concept, but feel your length. We're the only animal that can do this. And along our length, we're both straightening and we're settling. And let me encourage you to do this with your eyes open too, so that when we're in the heat of the kitchen, we can get present. When pressure's on us, we can get present. So we're both straightening and settling. And along the settling line, let your eyes relax. Come behind your eyes. And let a little space be between your teeth. So the jaw at the hinge and the chin are relaxed. And let's take our shoulders up to our ears. Yeah. And let them drop. Yeah. So either feel, sense, or imagine that the mass, the muscular system, is resting on the skeletal system. Letting your breath drop. And your knees are just slightly soft. So we could call this the human line of dignity. Now let's center on our width and maybe just sway back and forth, left and right a little bit, and just keep shortening that sway until you come right into that middle space. This is the horizontal plane. And really, it's our social plane. This is where we connect with others. Length could be, we say in Japanese, tenchi, which is we're the bridge between heaven and earth. But on our width, what we are is that we are connecting as social animals. And let's come to our depth, our front and back. And because most of our senses are in front, and we hold most of our machines in front of us, we have a tendency to be forward. So bring your attention to your back. Can you feel the space between your shoulder blades? Can you feel your low back? If you can't, you need to wiggle in there. Just let yourself wiggle in a little bit. And we have a back, which are our teachers, our mentors, our guides, those that have come before us, those that have helped build this path. And our heart is open, our chest is open. Take your hand and just put it just below your belly button. That's your center of gravity. That's what we'll call physically our organizing principle. It's also a center of action, will. Sometimes it's called the hara or tantien, koth, in different cultures. Let's come up to our heart center. Our center of compassion, goodwill, benevolence. And as long as we're here with your hand, let your hand say thank you to your heart and your lungs. Yeah, it's doing all that work, and we never have to pay attention. You say, thank you, heart. And then let's go to eye center, pineal gland here. Yeah. Perception, long horizons of time, the mystery. Then drop your hand. And align those three centers. Bring your attention to your body and align those three centers so that you're prepared for action. There's a grounded sense of compassion. And we have a pragmatic wisdom. And at this time, set your intention for the day. If this day is successful for you, what will happen? What is your intent? We say the merit of all practice is your intent. Open your fingers and extend down. And let's hold this posture as a way of saying thank you to the earth. Just think of it, everything that you've ever eaten or drank. And the grasses and the trees, and the winged ones. And let's extend up. And we'll give thanks to the heavens. Space, the waters, our other neighborhood. And let's extend out. You're close, you just extend out, palms out. And let's give thanks to people. And let's just take a moment and stretch ourselves and say to your best enemy and to your worst friend. Everybody. Thank you. I'd like to, in the very short time that I'm here, I'd like to offer you some of the questions that I'm in. And perhaps these questions can be provocative as we move through these next 2 days. How is it that it is so easy for us to poison our waters and to pollute our air? I'd submit to you is that one of the reasons is that we're out of touch with our bodies. How is it that there's a growing space, there's a growing distance between those that have and those that don't have, that disenfranchisement? In this city alone, 1 out of 6 children are in question if they'll have dinner tonight. In this county, one of the richest counties in the United States, 20% of people live at or below the poverty line. I'd submit that one of the reasons, these are all complex questions, but one of the reasons is that we're out of touch with our bodies. How is it that so much conflict so easily now precipitates into violence? And again, I would offer from my practices in my discipline, discourses that I've studied and my teachers, one of the reasons is because we're out of touch with our bodies. Now, when I say body, what I'm really referring to is our capacity to feel. And we will feel through our body. And the educational system and the culture has placed a huge amount of emphasis on our capacity to think, to have rational thought, logical thought, to have correct analysis. And that's a good thing. That's given us medicine, it's given us highways, it's given us technologies. But what we've sacrificed in between is this capacity to feel and to sense. That in many ways, it's been pruned out of us. I think of the Irish author, Nobel Prize winner, James Joyce. Many of you may have read him. He had a collection called The Dublineers. And in The Dublineers, there was a Mr. Duffy, who lived a short distance from his body. And Mr. Duffy basically represented in the Dublineers this modern, moving into modernity, this person who had no purpose, who lived a drab life, did not feel, absent from an emotional life and deep, intimate connections, both with other people and the natural world. So way back then, James Joyce talked about that those of us that have been trained and taught to live a short distance from our body. Now, when I say feel, I don't mean that you have a feeling, although that may happen. If I say feel, I don't mean that there may be an emotion, although that may happen. What I'm talking about is this animating force, this energy, or what other cultures would call ki, chi, prana, elan vital, kath, all of these things, that this animating force has a repository of intelligence and wisdom. And it points us towards that interdependence isn't simply a philosophical concept, but it can be a lived experience. That interconnectedness is actually how this 3 billion years, this is the result of 3 billion years right here, has moved because we understand the importance of reciprocity. In building the thinking self, we begin to forget that. So in planning things, we can lay out a plan, we can lay out a set of things we're doing, and we never take the moment to go, what does this energy say? We enter into that energy by feeling or sensing our bodies. What is it that that energy is saying? And how can that inform me with all of this 3 billion years of evolution, that what is the right track, what is the right way to move? The other thing is that we would say that the body and the self, who we are intimately linked together. The body and the self are intimately linked together. So that in saying the body, often in what is common is we all see this image of somebody on the cover of Men's Health or Vanity Fair or these airbrushed examples of a body, or we think, how can I improve my golf game or my tennis game? The body is also the self. Many years ago, I'm working with this professor at San Francisco State. He's a philosophy professor. He comes in because he has a lot of pain in his neck. There's no organic reason, no medical reason. I'm doing a lot of hands-on body work at that time. I work on him, and he can bring his head up, and he's out of pain. And he's very happy with it. He leaves after the 12th session. I leave, I'm living in San Francisco. I leave to go down to the local deli to get something, and there he is, and he's sitting down, and his head's way forward again. So I said, can we have a conversation here? And he said, sure. I said, we've done all this work. You can bring your head back. It's not forward. If we're in this kind of a position, gravity's pulling this way. And the only reason I'm not tipped forward is because I'm contracting back there. So he thinks about it, he reflects about it, we have this conversation, and finally he says, and it's almost like the picture of the thinker in Rodin's sculpture, and he goes like this, and he says, I don't feel like a philosophy professor if I'm not like this. So this was this aha for me. This was a seminal moment of going, oh, these are completely linked together. That the way that we shape ourselves, the way that we organize ourselves, will produce a certain action. When I say self, I mean a certain way that we take actions, our behaviors, our moods, our emotions, how we make contact with others, how we break contact with others. So there's this huge history that's also in the body. So we're in a particular shape because it's taken care of something over time. You follow me? It's been hard-earned, that history, because we're still here. And we're all really thriving. And this shape can change. We can change this shape. We can shift this so we can have more access to and more intimacy with this deeper voice that's in us, which I've been calling energy, or a core energy, or this deeper wisdom that's in us. But an example of that would be like this. Could you just put your hands like palms up like this? Now bring them together, interlock your fingers. Great. Now do it again. Now there's a way that you did that was very natural. I want you to do it opposite. Put your hands together in an opposite way. Yeah? So when I look out there, for most of us, this is what I see. Yeah, it's just natural. That's what we've learned. That's what we've shaped ourselves. When I say do it a different way, there's this, I think that's it, right? That's the space. That space is a space between who we are now and who we are now historically, both personally and collectively, and what we're becoming. And what we're becoming. So what we're looking for in terms of a personal or a collective transformation for our society, and you all know there's tremendous, tremendous pressures on our institutions now, more than they've been since generations and generations. That what we want to do is we want to begin to practice so that there's a less of a mix up here, and we go, oh, I'm practicing so I can do both of those right away. You follow me there? Back when the Brooklyn Dodgers were in Brooklyn, there was a guy named Carl Furillo, and Carl Furillo was interviewed by a guy named Howard Cosell. Some of you may, he was a very famous young Howard Cosell, and he was really in awe of Carl Furillo, 3 times most valuable player, and he said to him, how could you ever play this right field fence in the Brooklyn Ebbets field? It's such a hard, nobody can play that right field fence. Nobody. How do you do that? And Carl Furillo looked at him and kind of screwed up his face and said, I friggin' practiced. Right? So in this notion of embodied transformation and leadership transformation, what's important is we have both personal and collective practices that move us towards the new vision that we have for ourselves and our society. That requires that we look at, are the practices that we're doing now, are the practices that we're doing at this moment going to take us there? And it may be that moment where we go, this is uncomfortable. One of the things that embodiment and somatics teaches us is how to live in our discomfort and to move through that. When I was studying martial arts in Japan, at the end of the day, the Western group of practitioners, whatever they were doing, I was there studying Aikido and Judo, but they came from karate and jiu-jitsu. We'd all kind of gather and talk about what we were doing, and there was a lot of chest thumping, a lot of testosterone flowing, and there was one man from New Guinea who was a student at Oxford, and he said, in my country we have a proverb that says, knowledge is only a rumor until it's in the body. Knowledge is only a rumor until it's in the muscle. So where I was at that moment kind of set me back in my heels and going, how do we get these insights from these 2 days, these awarenesses, and put it into our muscle so we can take effective action? So we just don't leave ourselves with having great insights and great awarenesses and good feeling. That's super. But there's things that we can do and be powerful here in the world to actually take effective action through our compassion and through tapping into this deep 3 billion years of meditation. So if you want to practice, come by the Embodiment Lounge, and that's what we're doing all day long, doing different kinds of practices. And thank you for listening. And let me say that, as we say in Strozzi Institute, take it easy, but take it. Thank you.